Welcome to Small Business Saturdays video series with your host and my husband.
And my dad, Aaron Montgomery.
Join the conversation.
Let's talk some business.
All right, let's give this another go. Good morning. Welcome into Small Business Saturdays. I've got to stop muting the mic there, but I am super excited today. I am in Kansas City. As you can tell, I'm in a hotel room, and so we'll fingers crossed that the internet stays good for us here. But the plan was to not necessarily do a Small Business Saturday today since I'm traveling. But I had an opportunity. I got a new friend that I've met recently. We've been spending some time together, and just an amazing guy. I cannot wait to introduce him to you. And we were talking, and I'm like, dude, can you just come on my podcast here and share your story? And then, let's kind of unpack that and see, how people in the small business community might be able to utilize some of the things that you've learned. And he's also involved in some other, I'll let him tell the whole story, but he's also involved in life insurance, health insurance, some other stuff like that. I will let him share the details with us. So he's also a really good resource for you guys out there in the small business world. So I was like, gosh, we got to figure out how to make this happen. Show doesn't start for another hour. I've got a seminar then. So I'm like, you know what, Nick, can we do this? And he agreed. So I'm very blessed to have Nick here joining us. So without further ado, I am going to bring him in. Good morning to everybody that's checking in there this morning. But let's see here. Let's hit the right button. Nick, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me start off here by I'm going to share a little bit about how you and I met. So I have been blessed to be going to a men's gathering on Friday mornings where right now we're in the middle of going through the book of John. Nick, you're way better at this, so I'm growing into this. But we're doing a Bible study, and Nick is always brings amazing information. So Nick, tell us your take on the men's group on Friday morning.
It's exactly what I needed. I haven't found a group to be a part of, and then Zach, our buddy, invited me to it, and I was off and on, but then schedule kind of opened up and let me come, and I tell my wife I'm not missing a Friday.
Yeah. I missed yesterday being here, and I'm feeling it. Right. I didn't get filled up. And so I'm excited to catch up with you after I'm done with my show here to see what you guys talked yesterday. But so that's how Nick and I met. And, we have also had an opportunity to kind of get together just because I think we both have a very similar interest, right? You're such a servant. You help people in a lot of different ways. Your story, which we're going to get to here in 1 second, is just incredible. And so I just immediately was like, man, this is a guy that I want to get to know better. So can I just kind of leave you there and say, tell us your story, right? Just a kind of a big, here you go, buddy. Good luck.
Got to go with the flow.
That's right. Got to go with the flow. So I've, like I said, been fortunate enough to hear a good chunk of your story. I'm sure I'm going to learn new things here today. But for our listeners that are tuned in live or listening to the podcast version, give us the rundown. Tell us kind of where you started and how you got to where you are right now. So take as much time as you need to. This is a great story, folks.
I am a jack of all trades. So you name it, I probably have done it.
Yeah.
I grew up in Defiance, southern St. Charles County.
Okay.
And been there for a long time. Haven't left Missouri yet, but that's in the future. But been around here. I went to school to become a pastor.
Yeah.
Went to Central Christian College, and
Okay.
bachelor's in theology, and a minor in education. And God kind of pushed me towards serving, and I was like, it seems like God put a lot of people in my way to say, hey, you're going to be a youth pastor of some sort, and I'm like, yeah, you're kidding. I wanted to be a wilderness biologist, and
Okay.
yeah, so that wasn't even my realm. But I'll just go for it. And so I went there for a couple of years, and then God kind of pushed me towards being a youth pastor in Berkeley, I guess you call it North County.
Okay.
And I was there for, oh gosh, 4.5 years right out of college.
Okay.
And I was a part-time there, and I was a part-time construction tile layer, and
Gotcha.
working for my dad. And so our youth group was phenomenal. It was like heaven, super diverse. It was a hard 4 years, I would say.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, and emotionally, especially, and definitely pushed me past my limits. Didn't really know what was going forward, and I always had the motto of going with the flow, because sometimes our flow goes a different direction than we think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I love that you share that, right? That pushed you past your limits. I always talk a lot about, getting outside of your comfort zone. One of the things that we talk about a ton here on Small Business Saturdays is, success is right outside of your comfort zone. And I love how, right, where you can also take that spiritually as well and go with the flow. So I'm going to borrow that, Nick.
I always tell people to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Be comfortable being uncomfortable. There you go. All right, you guys that are tuned in, write that down one more time. Nick, tell us that one more time.
Be comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Be comfortable with the uncomfortable. I like that, man. That's awesome. I'm gonna make that a one of those quotes. I have to get a picture of you so I can put it in the background. All right, well, keep going, Nick. Keep telling us the rest of the story.
Yeah, it definitely goes with my story, because I've gotten pretty uncomfortable at times.
Yeah.
So we found out, I'll go into my son's story. So during the time I was youth pastor, me and my wife had a really hard time getting pregnant, and we had a bunch of miscarriages after, and then we found out they were pregnant in 2018.
Okay.
And, like the 20-week mark, where they did like the big anatomy thing, where like everybody's checking to see if all the vitals and everything is grown. Well, we found out that he had something going on that wasn't good at all. Oh. And they asked us if we wanted to get rid of him, and I said no. As soon as I found out that happened, and like something was wrong and he was not going to make it, they said, I was pissed. I was mad. I looked at the bathroom. You named the cuss word, I probably had said it to God, because I was just so mad.
Yeah.
But it was the second time where I heard an audible voice saying, he's going to be fine. And then after that, I'm like, how can I be mad? Like, you literally told me that he's going to be fine, and they're telling me that he's not. And so from that day forward, it doesn't mean that it was hard, but it made it a lot easier knowing that he said that. And we, like, the farther along, the more issues that he had. And so he basically had a medical sheet like a novel. But the thing that God did that was amazing is that all the symptoms so it took me 9 months to say this, but his diagnosis, one of them was holoprosencephaly, which means that his brain in the front lobe didn't split, and had to do with a lot of functions and survival, just like human nature stuff. And they told us he had that. He had one lung, the other one didn't form, and then he had, so this sounds bad, So he had congested heart failure, but it was good for him. Which sounds weird, right? Because the doctors has a hole in his heart, but if he didn't have that, then we would actually have to go in there and make one. And so God designed it where it was okay for him, and I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
So symptoms that were crazy with all this was like he could have everything from like a cyclops eye to a cleft lip and like pretty nasty. Like, don't Google it.
Yeah.
Google will tell you have a sneeze. You have a sneeze. Google will tell you that you're dying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've always gone down that hole. But he came out. Birth was perfectly fine.
Okay.
He came out a picture perfect baby. Like the
Wow.
most beautiful baby in the NICU. A lot of nurses say, which they came into like the room and they're like, I think I'm in the wrong room. I'm like, no, this is Tyson, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah, this is the right room. So my son's name, I forgot to say at the beginning, my son's name is Tyson James. Kind of strong, well, just kind of like he was.
Yeah.
So he was identical to me when I was a baby. My grandma came in and showed me a picture of him, of me when I was first born.
Yeah.
It was a fitting image.
Wow.
Funny, but cool at the same time.
Yeah.
And so we were in the NICU for like a month, and it was the hardest ever.
Yeah.
We're over here, we probably seen like 4 or 5 babies that pass away
No.
in the NICU. Like even harder because we didn't know, like we went day by day not knowing what the next day is gonna hold.
Yeah.
I mean, he was literally a miracle baby, and we were just like letting him do his thing.
Yeah.
And that's what the doctors did. He did his own thing, and we were out in 31 days in the NICU. And I always asked God just to be able to hold him and take him out to eat. Well, we got to do that when we left the NICU. So we went, and we can barely go anywhere because he had an oxygen tank on still.
Yeah.
He always had one on him. And like there was times where like our battery wouldn't last, and we would like frantically get home and run upstairs with him just to attach him to the oxygen. And it was like between that and trying to whenever he was born, I got my voice, and I kind of stood up for myself more, whether that was in like people around me or like my church setting. And I stepped on a lot of toes because I was getting too real. I just couldn't deal with the hypocrisy and the two-faced, and I could just see right through it.
Yeah.
And it stepped on a lot of toes. Almost got me fired a couple times.
Yep. Sometimes you got to make some waves.
Exactly. But it's like just being more authentic made it even like real because there's no time to be fake. So it was like, okay, we shoot ourselves, and so we were at home for a month, and then we knew that there was something off a couple of days before he passed away, and he started getting limp and stuff, and we're like, okay, something's off.
Yeah.
And we then started taking him to the hospital because he was like non-responsive, and I kept trying to stimulate him, and it would work, but it would be like seconds. But we're in the back of I was in my back of my RAV4. My wife was in the front seat, and I was still trying to do that. And then eventually, right before the exit of the hospital, is when he took his last breath. And I looked at him, and I was like, buddy, you're fine to go. Like, and then he took the last breath, and then my quick response after that was just straight CPR, even though I know he was gone, and I knew he was with God, and I was like, it doesn't make it any harder, but it also puts in perspective We don't have tomorrow. And then it's crazy how God does things with like this story to bring into what I'm doing now. Like it just makes it even more impactful because I was like a year and some change in between this job and another job. And like I was a UPS driver. I did Instacart, but I knew God had other plans, but I didn't know what. I was a stay-at-home dad for 7 months, and it was the freaking best thing.
Yeah.
So I got lots of respect for stay-at-home moms.
Yeah.
And so my wife's coworker's husband was the regional director of Thrivent Financial.
Okay.
He's like, dude, you should be a financial advisor. And I was like, dude, you're stupid. I was like, one, I don't know anything about money. And the second thing is I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that just freaks me out. And then I told him no. And it took him 3 times to finally convince me to do it. And so I got my life and health and got my securities license. I got my Series 6 and 63 right now. And I'm able to do everything. And I was actually a financial advisor for a year with them. And then God, again, put me different direction. I was like, let's just go with the flow. And he brought me to Family First Life. And that has changed everything because I'm able to help people that can't get insured. So, like, I had somebody I insured that when I met him, he had a stroke a month before. And no main character would really take him, and we were able to help him.
Yeah.
So, being able to do that, and then adding on being a part of Health Solutions team, and bringing in that because my dad is a small business owner. Like I know what it means not to have any, and that scare of it's like the saying, you would rather have it and not need it, and need it and not have it.
Yeah. Really true. So Nick, help me tie, because I know when you and I talked before, there's definitely some connection between what you're doing now and the situation with your son and what you guys went through. Obviously, appreciate you sharing that story so openly with us. It's just really heartfelt. But I also remember at one point you kind of sharing, one of the reasons that you believe that you were led to this path was this whole idea of being prepared, right? Kind of being able to look ahead. You kind of talked about it there, but can you expand on that a little bit for us?
Being prepared. So it's like, especially with like the life insurance side, like people, I've had some of my partners, I haven't had experience where they would cancel their life insurance policy because either they didn't have the right priorities or something happened, but then a couple weeks later they pass away unexpectedly. And like with our son, we didn't have anything on him, and because obviously we didn't know if he was going to make it or not. And like we had a deal, I had to go after he passed away. I had to go back to work in about 2 weeks, and because we had to pay the bills. I was a pastor and my wife was a teacher, so we didn't get paid very much.
Yeah.
And so
back to work. Yeah.
So back to work, and just having that preparation of if something goes bad, you're covered, right? So like even if it's not the best, but like I always bring it in as like I hear a lot of people sign up for policies, and this is like for anything. So like even with my house, I signed up for a house insurance, like my house protection and stuff, and I had no idea what the policy was. I didn't know if it was good or not. And that's the same thing with life insurance and health insurance. A lot of people just do it just because it's coverage, but it could be absolutely terrible for them in the end.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
very big on education. So like if somebody doesn't know like if I can explain it to a 10-year-old in front of me and they can explain it back, that's when I know I did a good job.
Yeah.
That's when I know you know exactly what you're signing up for. It's not like, what did I just get myself into? And if I get stuck somewhere, I can't have my coverage.
Yeah. 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 It's that kind of, again, we get so much information in hindsight, but boy, sometimes that's hard, right? That's not the way to go. So if you can be prepared and looking ahead, that really goes a long way. Now, Nick, you do have another child and another one on the way.
Mm-hmm.
So how did your experience with your son Tyson? How's that changed kind of your outlook on your family? You know, obviously as it relates to what you're doing, but just in general.
It's changed everything.
Yeah.
A lot of people in my industry, they work a lot. Like they work 6 days a week, and they work nights, and they work their tail off. Mind
Yeah.
you, the income is great, but I could really care less about the amount of money I can make. But if it's taken away from family time, no.
Yeah.
So I'm either picking up my daughter, or we're always gonna have family dinner, and it just that quality time is even more precious.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
than ever.
Yeah. And it really, in my mind boils down to what are your priorities? I think a lot of people don't spend the time to sit down and really think about that, right? And because there are, as small business owners, as you know, right, we do get the right to work every hour of every day. But that doesn't mean that we have to. So if we don't clarify what our priorities are, yeah, we are going to, chase the money, chase the, do that. I mean, I think I'm a great example of this. I can definitely be a workaholic but I am very intentional about thinking about, wow, what am I sacrificing? Right. I've got all these trips coming up right now, and I've been working my butt off. And then I go, gosh, I missed this opportunity with my son. And so I make note of that in my daily journal, in my planner, and remind myself, hey, don't forget about those things. So I guess from your perspective, Nick, what with your new perspective and always staying true to the family time and stuff like that. I love that you've made that commitment. How do you kind of manage that though? As like you said, you still got bills to pay, right? We still have to get our business going. What's your process for making sure that you find that right balance?
It's just it's setting my time away to actually make my couple one like goals a week. Um, and I always try to be. I'm trying to grow my business referral based, and it's a little bit harder, but in the end, it's serving the people.
Yeah.
Like I try to go beyond just. I always tell people whenever they meet with me, you're stuck with me for life, and it's not just here. Like, so
Yeah.
back because I have a big networking group behind me. Like, if they need anything from a roofer to a handyman to anything that has to do with home or just anything, I have somebody connection with.
Yeah.
And so, like the other day, I told the lady she wasn't too healthy, and she had issues of bringing the groceries up.
Yeah.
I hate doing this, but it just made me mad because it's serving people. And like I told her, I looked at her, I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And I was like, if you ever need anything like that, ever, just call me. I am 10 minutes away and I will come help you bring your groceries up. That was the first time somebody actually offered help to her.
Yeah.
Ever. Because she would help people all the time, but then when she needed help, all their friends would scatter away.
Yeah. 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 And I think, operating your business from that servant heart, that servant mindset, as you said, the word of mouth, growing your business through referrals can be a little more difficult, can be a little bit more time consuming, but I also think it can be more organic in that at a certain level, once you've pushed that, once you've been serving enough people, you're going to get that back, and then it'll allow you to serve more people. And it just becomes this momentum. And that's so much easier to maintain over time than, all these quick fixes and let me go get 1,000 leads and,
People,
sell.
People remember how the appointment went.
Yeah.
People remember how your quality of work is. It's just if you go beyond just that, beyond that line.
Yeah.
This company is different. And then when somebody comes up and brings in a conversation, it'll click in their mind, oh, go to this guy or go to that lady.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. All right. Well, folks, if you guys are the folks that are tuned in live right now, if you have any questions for Nick, you definitely start popping those in the comments for us here. But Nick, I do want to start heading towards a little bit nuts and bolts. I can't have somebody that's as knowledgeable about what you're doing on without asking some specific questions here. I guess to start off, I know from my understanding of your story, you kind of got into that life insurance side of it, and you more recently kind of taken on health insurance. What was the genesis there? What made that decision for you to like, man, yeah, this is also something that I need to be providing to my clients?
I've always had the idea of being a one-stop shop for my clients, and I didn't realize that until like a couple weeks ago, where I went to a life insurance appointment, and she ended up asking me, she's like, you also do health insurance as well? Because I'm leaving my job here at the end of the month and I need something. And I'm like, I'm your guy, because I just started. So perfect. And it's just being that one-stop shop so I can help every person in every aspect, because eventually I'll get my Medicare license and I'll be their agent forever.
Yeah. I think that's such a good lesson for all of us to understand as business owners, right? There's a difference between being a one-stop shop and trying to be all things to everybody. And I think for small business owners, we have to understand that distinction, right? Because Nick, I'm going to use you as an example here. You're coming from a place of service. How can I help my clients more, right? You're not trying to be everything to them all the time. You're trying to say, how can I serve the people that I want to serve better? And I know that doesn't sound like that much of a distinction, but there's a distinction there. And I think it's important for the people that are tuned in, that are listening to understand that, it's, if you're just trying things to see what's going to stick, Nick listened to his customers and let them lead, right? And how can I serve them more? And so if you're coming from that mindset, you will be taken at, Nick, your comment of going with the flow. If you're open to going with the flow and listening to your customers, you're going to be taken where you need to go, as opposed to, again, trying to be all things to everybody. So I don't know if you have any expansion on that, Nick, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, we have this picture perfect. I listened to a video the other day. It was like, we have this picture perfect image of what, like, of course this video was about marriage, but you can take it like a business aspect. We have this picture business that we have of like what we want it to look like, what we want retirement to look like, and we're like honed in on that picture, but we forget about, so the video talked about, it was a cookbook. We look at the image of the food, but we forget about the steps and the recipe to get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's sometimes that we, like, even I need to think about, is that the process is going to be a lot different than I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And so look at that picture and then let the process come to you, as opposed to, yeah, I love that. And I love that you shared that from that whole different perspective. That's kind of what Small Business Saturdays is all about, kind of taking a holistic view of things and trying to say, how can I utilize this in my business? Because obviously these things that we're talking about on a more holistic level are useful across our lives. And so why not take those and translate them into our business? So I appreciate that you shared that. So Nick, tell us a little bit. Okay, so talk about health insurance. You talked about this lady leaving her job, going to need health insurance. I know a lot of folks that I get to work with. They are challenged with the fact that I don't really want to be at the day job. My business is growing to a point where I feel like I'm on the precipice of being able to make it a full-time gig, but those benefits, right? I just can't walk away from those benefits. I know that this is a newer path for you, and you're working through this, but what do you see as kind of, what are some potential solutions out there that might throw at people if they were in that place?
Well, when I was a financial advisor, I was under some of the two top agents in my group, and we focused on business owners. And so one of the things that I would challenge and put out in the perspective is that, like, if you get health insurance, if you get life insurance, once you start um, that job up, that health insurance is a tax write-off. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't think about, is that the only thing that's holding them back is that health insurance. Well, you
Yeah.
can pay that, and it's also a tax write-off at the end of the year. And so
Okay.
that's another thing to take into idea, is that even though, like, obviously I would love to help, like, there could be somebody out there, but um, you have to know it'd be the perfect plan for you instead of getting the cheapest price.
Yeah. Yeah. That yes. And I think that can be something, right? I've told you a little bit about my story. We've looked out there, done tried the marketplace, and really right now at a place where we're at, the health insurance that my wife and I have for our family is, if something really bad happens, we're covered. Beyond that, you're on your own. Catastrophic is what I call it. um, so yeah, what are you seeing out there as again, what can potentially be some of the right plans? Obviously, it's going to vary based on people's circumstances,
Sure.
but yeah.
I mean, you can see people that have deductibles from 2,500 all the way up to 10 grand. But you can also, I didn't realize this until not too long ago, is that you can set up plans where you have your regular plan and then a subsidy on top of it, so you don't have to pay anything out of pocket. And so I'm like, unless I heard that, I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, but a regular plan, a subsidy, and then an accidental, it'll actually pay it in your pocket.
Wow.
And so being able to work with all the big carriers that I'm able to do that for people. And it's amazing.
Yeah. That is amazing.
And people just don't know about it. And there's, like, a lot of stuff that, like, even with life insurance, like, yeah, there's term, there's whole life, but a lot of people don't know that what I like about life insurance is the more in-depth stuff, where you get into, like, because I'm able to do retirement as well. Like, there's some life insurance that you can invest in. There's some life insurance that you can use your own as your own bank, so, like, infinite banking. And there's a lot of stuff that people don't realize that, you know, man, you can do this as, like, you can set up life insurance as key person insurance, um, executive bonus, So like you call that as like a golden handcuff, where you say you have a really really good employee, you don't want them to leave. You say, hey, I set up this policy for you, and it's going to grow a bunch of cash over the years, and I'm going to give you a check whenever you retire.
There you go. I love it. I love it.
That I want to share.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, Nick, yes, we do want you to share. So, I can imagine that we'll be back. I am getting a little short on time here though. So, I want you to, and I'm going to put some things in the chat and put a banner up here for people to connect with you, because I do think that you've got so much to share that, if you're a listener here of Small Business Saturdays podcast, or you're watching on the live versions here, Nick is somebody you want to connect with and spend some time with. Get to be as lucky as I have been to get to know him. But any last kind of closing thoughts on the topics we've been talking about today, and then, like I said, we'll look ahead and see what else we can come up with to share at a later date here. But this has been fantastic. I wish we could go all day, but closing for me, please.
Mike, I guess it'd be a closing challenge.
Oh, I like that.
To take that leap of faith. Like, if you're not comfortable and excited about where you're at, but you have passion for something that you have on the side as a business, go for that passion, because you're going to be a lot happier with family and with that job whenever you're in it. I mean, you're doing what you love for money.
Yeah.
Like, you actually get paid to do what you love.
Yeah.
And that challenge is like, even though it could be hard the first couple of years, you're doing it because, I mean, we have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
And if you're really focusing on one thing, so say like for me, it's life and health. I'm going to learn the crap out of it, and I'm going to become the best one out there.
Yeah.
And if you focus on one thing, you be the best at it, and the rest, and just put that servanthood at first.
Yeah.
Is that client, then you, it's going to change everything.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. Nick, fantastic stuff, man. So people go to this Calendly link here. If you go to calendly.com/keys, Nick, KEYESNICK-FFL. What does that stand for? FFL?
Family First Life.
Oh, there we go. That makes sense. So Nick's last name, KEYESNICK-FFL, and then /30-40 minutes. I'm sure if you just hit the front part of it, you're fine too. I'm just sharing this for those of people that are hearing the audio only version there, Nick. If you're watching the video, you can see it on screen. I also did pop it in the chat in a couple of places. So if you are on our Facebook group or our Facebook page, the comments don't go to the groups, just on our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel. You should see those there. Nick, what happens when somebody goes there and picks a time to chat with you?
Yeah, so you'll put your name, a good phone number that you have, and I also like to do like a thing kind of to break the ice, and it's to put your favorite hobby.
Cool.
And so what I'll do is I would call you, and we figure out a time to meet and see what you want me to help you with, and I'd love to see if I can do that for you.
Yep. And currently, Nick, share with us where you're licensed right now.
I am licensed in Missouri, Illinois, Michigan, and New Mexico. But it's pretty easy for me to get literally anywhere. So even if you're, I can just sign a paper and it'll be like a week, a couple days.
So even if you're not in one of those places, reach out to Nick still, and if it makes sense, he can help you out. So love it, Nick. Perfect. I really appreciate your time here this morning, and it was great chatting with you, and I can't wait to see you back in the men's group.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was great, man. I really appreciate it. So I am going to drop you out here, and then I will close this up, and I got to get over to the show. So great to see you, man. We'll talk to you soon.
That sounds good.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much to Nick for his time this morning. Great information, great story. I sometimes a little hard. It was a hard story, and I'm so blessed that he's willing to share that story, because that's a hard story to tell, and just the way that he and his wife handled that situation is so inspiring to me. I don't know if I could have done what they did, which then also I look at that and I go, wow, right? How does that kind of look at our overall lives? And how does that look? Again, how can we take that and utilize stories like that, understandings like that for our business as well? So thanks very much to Nick for his time today. Make sure that you go check him out there, calendly.com/keys Nick-FFL, and then 30-40 MIN for minutes. You can check that out. And if for whatever reason you don't remember it, need to get it again, just reach out to me. I will share it with you right away. So you guys know how to contact me there. So with that being said, yeah, I need to head over and get set up for my seminar here at the DAX show. So next week I will definitely be off. No opportunity for me to do a show next week. So we will be off next week, and I think back the week after that, but we'll see. So stay tuned. And if you're listening to the podcast version, it's just going to show up each week. So no off weeks there anymore. All right. We got that moving back forward. So if you want to check out the podcast version, just go to smallbusinesssaturdayspodcast.com. Kind of a longer one, but Small Business Saturdays. Make sure you put an S at the end of Saturdays. Smallbusinesssaturdayspodcast.com. And you can subscribe to the podcast channel over there. So, all right. Yeah. Chuck says good stories are sometimes hard to tell. Absolutely. And, valuable stories for sure. So, all right, you guys have a great rest of your Saturday, and I will talk to everybody again very soon.